Classic FM 94.3 Abuja, the station that plays every song you know. And it's a big with same old love. 7 minutes past 12 noon. Welcome to the Classic Lounge. My name is Faith. I did mention to you that on NAS in Focus today, we're going to be having in the studio an honorable member of the Federal House of Representatives, to help us break down some of the issues, national issues, and of course, whatever concerns, the purview of the legislator. And today we have in the studio, Right Honourable Member Uzoma Abonta. Yes, he is the lawmaker representing Ukwa East West Federal Constituency of Abia State. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, listeners.
Okay, so there's a number of things that I definitely want us to talk about and look at today. But let's start from the one that seems like the low-hanging fruit, and that is talking about the electricity tariff hike as well as the fuel price increase, right? I know that earlier this year, the House of Representatives and the Senate, National Assembly in general, had that conversation with stakeholders and with the federal government executive to push the hike of electricity tariff up until next year, early next year. But somehow, the executive gave the go ahead, and a cost reflective tariff has now taken place. So according to this report, you're a PDP member, so the PDP caucus is demanding a reversal of electricity fuel prices hike, and of course blasting the executive on the government on being insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. But there are people who would argue that these things have to happen. We have to regulate the downstream petroleum sector, and we also have to take up electricity tariff if we want to actually see some progress in that sector as well. So let's talk about this, and let's get your views on this. You're a federal lawmaker, you're in the minority in the House. What do you think about this hike?
Thank you, Faith. Increasing tariffs on electricity right now shows insensitivity of the highest order from the executives. It marks that they do not know the sufferings of the people. It tells us that that action of hiking fuel now and all whatnot and electricity shows they don't understand the economy of the nation. They do not know. They fail to have realized the reality of the situation we're in. And again, it borders on policy somersaults because they have no rudder to direct where they're going to. They don't know where they're going to or where we should be. If you look at history, not even history, in a short while, in fact, in the time of COVID, they will say, no, we are going to question the effect of electricity bill. And they asked them, is COVID over? COVID-19, is it over? So why did they just few months say, no, don't even pay bill at all? My speaker even said I was going to plead with the providers not to charge for some months. In the same vein, the same thing I'm saying now, you are now doing 100 or 200% high. That shows a somersault. That shows confusion. That shows not understanding what you need to do. So it's insensitivity. But let's look at the reality. Few years ago, they occupied Nigeria. Where are they now? Kind of occupied Nigeria. What was the reason? Few years ago, they made all kind of statements. This should tell politicians not to say what you don't mean. Don't say what is populist because you want to get attention. I am one of those who have believed and agreed that we should deregulate, that we should change things, that we should not subsidize energy if we must grow. I have championed that view, that we should let the pump
market.
Yes, let the market determine what should be, not by subsidy. Because subsidy is fraud on its own. By the time you do subsidy, 3/4 of the money used for subsidy goes into pockets not meant to. Whom are you subsidizing? Let me give you an example. Big men or rich men enjoy subsidy than the poor people. They don't own even motorbike. And those big men own guzzlers, big jeeps, aviation firm or whatnot, and you subsidize it. Who is losing? What government ought to do is to make sure that they put in place some certain factors that will cushion the effect. RFI had a lot of buses in Abuja here. More than 300 buses. People did not feel transportation. Where are the buses today? Is the rail perfectly working? You must place on ground certain infrastructures before you can remove that entirely. Not putting those things then you are trying to cause Nigeria to bleed, and we are bleeding.
So you're saying that you're not against the deregulation, you're not against the removal of subsidy, you're not against letting the market determine the price of fuel. You're just saying you have to put some things in place before you do that, and this government didn't do that yet. That's your position, just to get the clarity.
Exactly.
Okay.
They did not only that they did not do that, they failed to do that, and they even reduced the existing ones before they came.
How do you mean?
When PDP was in power, let me pick Abuja for example. RFI had what we call RFI taxis, RFI buses. You could go from Nyanya to Wuse at 100 naira. What are those buses? Who took them away? For what purposes? That's an example. And if you look at Nigeria infrastructures and all whatnot, you will see that they were shouting wolf. They were occupying Nigeria for nothing.
But here's the thing. The federal government is also saying, according to the Minister of State for Petroleum, they're working on converting, cars, buses to gas instead, which is a way to make sure that, people do not feel the large extent of the price increase in fuel. And, definitely whatever happens, international market is what determines what the prices will be here. I mean, isn't that just trying to make sure that there is some sort of, cushion so that if you can convert your car to gas or whatever, then you don't need to use as much fuel? You don't think that is...
That is another confusion. Let's take it this way. They are working on. They have not started. They are working on. Why not
well,
wait
they've
until
converted some stations, to that already.
To
gas
stations?
Yes, that have
what kind of gas now? You mean the diesel or the cooking gas? What gas are you talking about now they are converting to? They're going to use to drive your car.
They have the gas that they're going to do. We have, Nigeria has an abundance of gas reserves.
I agree with
definitely.
you.
So some of those are what is going to be converted, for cars. So those are some of the things that they are putting in place.
I don't want to talk about the gas policy. You will see zero. Till today, there's still flare gas. The abundant gas we have. We keep shifting the goalpost every year. So the gas project is far from realization because we don't have the zeal. Apart from laying the pipe that takes the gas across Nigeria to North or whatever. You don't have any gas policy. What's our gas policy? Look at it critically. It doesn't exist in reality. So telling us you are working on it, why not complete it? Then you can do this. Why not introduce that? Why not make transportation free? Why not bring mass buses like we saw in the Jonathan RFI period?
But some people would also argue, that at the end of the day, but just to clarify that RFI wasn't minister when President Jonathan was in power. He was minister when, he was President Obasanjo. But just to clarify...
Obasanjo never ruled under APC?
No, he didn't rule under the APC.
Fine.
He ruled under the PDP.
Fine.
So that was what you're trying to say, that
exactly.
during the PDP period...
They were focused. They know they were going to. But they were truncated.
Some people would say that this government had the willpower to do because it actually does take a lot of political will to be able to stand and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, because in the long run, it is better. Because a lot of the times, there are arguments that Nigeria would just go for short-term gains. We don't focus on what can be a long-term solution, and that, argue that, at the end of the day, this government has been able to put the country first and think about the long-term solution. That's, let's stop putting a band-aid over this. Let's just rip it apart and do it once and for all. You don't commend them for that.
That is not political will. That is insensitivity will. Listen, you don't even do a whole stretch that will cause confusion when you have nothing on ground. You will reasonably programmed step by step how to achieve it. Your mileage, what you intend to do. Political will without considering the masses will be being autocratic and harsh. That can't be a will. You can't have a will that will put the masses uncomfortable. Let me also tell you, yes, I believe in that we should remove all subsidy. But we must put things in place. For example, the money that we save from subsidy, where are we planning it into? We must be sure. Where are we going to put it to the benefit of the masses?
Well, here's the thing. We have not paid subsidy in a minute because there's not been any to pay subsidy. Oil prices have fell, and also when you're saying that let's deploy resources, let's do things, a certain way before this. The government might not have the latitude to do that because there is really no money. Our prices are falling. COVID-19, there is no money really to do all of the cushioning that you're asking for. Did you consider that?
Before the advent of COVID-19, they had said no subsidy. That was part of the things they were arguing, that we should not remove subsidy. That's what occupied Nigeria. Even in the budget, they tried to hide subsidy. Now, if you look at comparative analysis, you will see that this present government had paid greater subsidy than Jonathan Obasanjo paid, more than double. So now, who is deceiving who? They came, increased subsidy that they were opposed to being removed. Now, just of a sudden, you remove subsidy. You should plan and give reasonable notice. Say, by December, we will do this. By first quarter of next year, we will do this. So that we also prepare and work with you. I'll give you an example. Some glasses can take hot water if they are introduced to that heat gradually. But once you just put hot water in the glass, it's going to burst. But if you introduce it gradually, it gets used to it, to the highest steam. What they did to us without notice, you just dropped hot water in the glass, and it's going to burst. They ought to introduce from warmth until we get used to it. So that's the argument. And they should understand that we need a long-term solution. Long-term solution includes reforming our economy, make it in a manner that it will benefit the masses.
So how many years are you looking for them to do this? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the time, that is what has happened. When President Jonathan was talking about removing subsidies, and, this same argument came, from the opposition then, what are the plans? You don't just yank subsidies away without anything. At the end of the day, he reversed it because he was trying to lay the plan, which he was not able to finally do. So don't you think, as opposed to waiting till you lay the plan, just take it off and then play it by ear from then?
I'm going to give you an example. I can't tell the number of years. How much you're able to put on ground in terms of prayer will determine how much or how far you're going to remove out. For example, improve the transport system. In the Jonathan era you're talking about, they tried to cushion the effects of transportation by providing mass transit, by making some spare parts available. They did some programs that will cushion the effect of the transport sector. And then you look at your taxes, particularly
mass transit where? All over Nigeria?
To a large extent, yes.
Because I was in Lagos, I didn't see those. I'm just
well,
telling
maybe
you
they didn't say it,
about
but
that.
they tried in terms of spare parts and all whatnot in transport sector. How about the flights? The flights that are now coming to Lagos? Of course. They've introduced the bailouts to a lot of the sectors, transport sector, aviation, and all whatnot. Yes, they did. Are you saying airport?
I will definitely check on that,
Yeah,
and get back on that.
So what I'm saying, the time will be determined by how far we can do those measures that will reduce that. For example, we use vehicles to bring food to the masses or to bring out food. You also look at that. What do you do?
Because it's a chain reaction,
exactly.
basically.
So you see how you can fill on those gaps. Then you can introduce that step by step.
All right, let's move on from that because of time, and let's talk about the water resources bill, because that is another hot topic, especially in the House of Rep, where you have the Punch actually carried the story about the water resources, confusion over bill as Rep leaders disagree over hearing, talking about the process, for the introduction of water resources. Of course, governors are saying that they're going to, put out their plan and their response concerning, the water resources bill. And, there are people who have criticized the water resources bill, saying that it is a way of introducing Ruga, that's what some people have said. And their southern middle belt lawmakers are mobilizing against this. That's what the Punch is reporting. And the committee chair, though, is saying that there won't be a public hearing, in this. The public hearing held in the 8th Assembly, and so there's no need to hold another, but you have some other House of Rep members, your colleagues, saying that it didn't follow the due process of reintroduction, especially since it was kind of shut down in the 8th Assembly. I want to get your thoughts on the issue of the water resources bill. Do you think that it went through the proper procedure in the 9th Assembly?
You see, the House can regulate drug procedures. The House can also fast track it. However, there are certain procedures you must follow. It fell short of that procedure. One, if it didn't go through the whole hog to the completion 8th assembly, you can fast track it and bring it to the House again, cutting out the public hearing and all whatnot. But you must publish, gazette, and circulate a clean copy. That was not done. So it cut short. It breached the procedure. The reason for that circulating is for people to read again and get abreast of. Mind you, we had less than 50% returnee. So there are persons who came
who have not seen
it. So long as you did not gazette, publish, circulate for people to read, is the problem. I won't stand here and begin to talk about the House procedures. But since you raised the point and the argument in it, the House can regulate herself and so on. But apart from not being circulated, that is the breach. However, the totality and the conceptions about that bill, it portends evil.
How do you mean?
Are we running a federal government or unitary government? What does the Land Use Act say about land? So that law is in breach of Land Use Act. It's unconstitutional. Look at it. Look at the sections. And let me ask, we are complaining that we must restructure, that there are too much powers at the center. And then you are now saying wherever you find water again, you're adding to the center. We should decentralize. Except Nigeria will be a unitary state. If it's a federal government, where the components who comprise of the federal government are operating, you must allow them to also operate. But if you now centralize the power, including 3 miles from every water, that means everywhere will be FCT, will belong to federal territory. That means it's a way of taking away the land from the people legally. That's why the protest. So we must look at it critically.
So you are of the opinion that it's not even just about breaching the procedure, it's about the fact that the bill in its entirety should not even go through.
Yes, not because it breached or it did not breach or what. The contents of the bill will affect our human rights. The contents of that bill will make the states not to be federal in nature, will make the components as if we are a unitary government. That will add more powers to the center. That is why we're not moving. The federal government is seized of a lot of powers. If you look at the legislative list, the concurrent is empty, while the exclusive is so much that we do not know what we're doing. So we should decongest the exclusive list and have more in concurrent list. That Nigeria will move. When you overload a car, it won't move. It can't take a hill. That's the problem with Nigeria. Nigeria said it's overloaded. That's why it's moving slowly and jerking. But once you take the normal load, and then you will speed off.
But then you have the chairman of the House Committee on Water Resources saying that this is a done deal and that there's no more public hearing, there's nothing else to be done, and that the deal is done. What do you have to say to that?
I read that, and my friend Salo Sado, I said, well, if he thinks it's a done deal, that's what he thinks. That's a done deal. But Nigerians will decide whether it's a done deal, not him. And then we will use legislative procedures to do things. I don't believe in paper and whatever. He said it's a done deal because he says sort of sponsored or introduced and whatever and so on. But what we're saying, water is life. Land is the principal factor of production. Don't deny or put people under apprehension in these two things. If people think you're denying them their source of water, they're going to revolt. If they think you're taking their land, which is the principal factor of production we are taught in elementary economics, then they're going to say why. And if you look at the happenings in recent times, that's why they tend to put it to Ruga or whatever they think, put it to. What I'm saying is that justice must be done and seem to be done. Fairness must be done. That's what we're saying.
So basically, by the time you resume, because you know, at the end of the day, the idea is that by the time plenary resumes, this is supposed to be passed. You're saying that you and other lawmakers.
Well, there will be legislative fireworks on it. Let me give you an example.
Stand against this.
No, there must be legislative fireworks to look at it critically. Take a state like Benue. If this bill goes through and stands, the government house in Makode will belong to the federal government. Because if you calculate 3 miles from the sea or from the water, that means the government house everywhere will be subject to that bill. Then, are they saying such states shouldn't exist again? If you look at Lagos State, for example, take 3 miles from the bar beach, then what happens? Where will they be? Even Mr. Speaker's house or wherever he lives will be subject to that. So we are saying allow states function at their own capacity. That exclusive list must be decongested reasonably enough to allow Nigeria move. We must have to do that. We must restructure. We must reorganize. We must push Nigeria forward. We will be 60 shortly. We are still walking or crawling at 60 because we overloaded.
Well, let's talk about restructuring then. There have been a lot of talk about restructuring by your party, by the APC, by different legislative, houses, whether it was the 8th Assembly, the 7th Assembly, and here. We're still here. Nothing has been done. What is going to happen with that? Because it just looks like politicians pay a lip service to it when it's time for elections.
I pray that the present government should have the political will they use in changing fuel price to bring restructuring. That's what will help us. That's where we need the long-standing remedy. It's only in restructuring. Nigeria is said to be a federal government, but we are in practicing unitary government. So we need to restructure to accommodate the interest of everybody, to accommodate the aspiration and reason of everybody to think aloud. We've had several conferences, constitutional conference and all whatnot, and several panels, white papers made. Can't we look at those recommendations and begin to take them? Yes, we must restructure. We came from regional, came to states and local government. Let me give you a typical example. How do we share our revenue in Nigeria? And even taxes. Every local government gets a portion. There are some local governments that produces the wealth. They go with 8 portions by ASA. There are some don't produce. They go with 44 portions. Faith, is that justice? Is that equity? Now, look at tax policies. You tax some people heavily for taking beer. Some forbid they don't come. But in sharing the profit from that beer, some get more than those who even consume, who generate the tax. Do you know how much Lagos produces from beer consumption or alcohol? What is Kaduna's own? Check the tax they got when you share the money. That is just on the economic side. Political restructuring we must do. Economic restructuring we must do. Environmental restructuring we must do. We must overhaul Nigeria. Let me give you an example. We have a constitution. Was it given by us? It says, we the people of Nigeria. Which people? I don't follow. It was given to us
but you're in the house. What are you doing to try to
That's
change
what I'm saying,
this?
that we should subject even to plebiscite to know. We're in the first, second, third, fourth, and going to fifth iteration. That means there's something wrong with the constitution. When within 10 years you alter the constitution so much, it means that we think at it in a way that
there's always a constitutional amendment every legislative
only in Nigeria.
cycle.
Only in Nigeria. Other America have not done for years. I'm not saying we should not amend. Therefore, to make it we the people of Nigeria, we should check that and subject it clause by clause to the nation by a plebiscite or something. So we cannot vote. Any section that did not meet the requirement gets dropped. Then we can now publish a new and say, we the people of Nigeria. INEC can organize that for us. We can put that.
So is that something that you would, emotion that you want to raise or something in the House? That let's do this because you're in the House.
We need the political will to say this must be done. If we're thinking of long-term structures, long-term things that will be done to put Nigeria through, we must start from the fundamentals. We must start from, for example, Faith, we have what they call federal character. Do we have it in Nigeria? I just say publication now, custom redeploys, blah, 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 and promotes this. Check the list. Check the list. That the list of NMPC directors are already causing problems. Check it. So where are we heading to?
What I'm asking is, you are in the Federal House of Representatives.
Oh,
I mean, and you have been in the House for a minute. What are you doing to try to push this? How are you trying to lobby your colleagues? What kind of motion are you raising? What are you doing as a federal lawmaker? You cannot just talk like us. You actually are in the House.
We'll file several bills. We'll file several motions. We also argue it, but don't forget, it's one man, one vote. I'll give you an example. The whole Southeast have less than 45 members. Kano, Kebbi, and other states are bigger than Southeast because the representation is done on number of local governments. My state, for example, with 17 local governments, will have 8 reps. Kano, with 44 local governments, have 22 reps. You see the need for to restructure? In Senate, it's 3 per state. You can see the argument there. Come to it again. In Nigeria, Southeast have got many states, short than other zones. If you step by step, you've been shortchanged already. There's an imbalance. There's imbalance, visible imbalance in everything we're doing. So we need restructuring to balance it. Then we can begin to look at issues properly. I believe that we should look at our comparative advantage. Nigeria will be a big whole country if well managed. Nigeria will be a power if well managed because our numerical strength is the market, and it's why Europeans, Americans, Chinese are there.
I can argue about the numerical strength, but let's not get into that because that is another can of worms. I mean, we're a lot, but when your population are grossly uneducated and unemployed and poor, there is really no advantage to your population. You become a liability to the world.
No, let me take you that's not true.
It is true.
In America, less than 30% go to school.
I said when you're poor.
Yeah, they're poor. And why are they poor?
I'm saying that, it's a triple whammy for us.
Oh, sure.
We're poor, uneducated, unemployed. So you have a lot of people who are educated without jobs. When you look at the latest MBS,
I agree
MBS,
with
whatever, over 45% of graduate PhD members don't have jobs.
How do we create employment?
That's what I'm saying. That so your numerical strength becomes a liability
if not well managed.
when you don't have resources.
I agree with you.
So I don't know about that. But let's talk about insecurity. Now, the president has refused to sack service chiefs despite different calls by. I mean, this has even been a call that has, gone past partisanship. It has been a call by the National Assembly, whether it's PDP members, ABC members, or other party members. Well, the president has refused to do that. What are your thoughts on that? We still have insecurity as a big issue in Nigeria.
Again, insensitivity on the ruling party. This is not a party affair. Insecurity is the basic problem we have now. It's responsible for scarcity of food and for every other thing. Why would he not change the service chiefs?
But the people who argue that he probably has information that we don't have, that is why he's keeping them.
Oh, well, I don't know about the information. He should tell us. For example, if you're doing a thing in a particular mode, it seems not working, you change method. You apply something more scientific. Because everybody, including people from the north, cannot be saying, change the service chiefs. We don't think they're doing well. I say, no, they must be. And they have been accusing you of some other things and all whatnot. So I think that the parliament should insist on changing the service chiefs. That's what I'm also saying.
But what can you do? It is actually his prerogative as the commander-in-chief. You can pass a resolution. You can lobby. You can appeal. You can ask. But you can't compel him. You don't have those powers.
No, you have powers to compel him.
What kind of powers?
But you must use the constitutionally laid down powers. Say, Mr. President, power of the purse, for example.
Okay.
You refuse to put money there. Is that not? Will they do extra budget spending? Then you punish them for that. The law provides every other thing. So, Mr. President, we're not going to give this guy money. The Vietnam War in America was started by parliamentarians. The president then said, I must prosecute the war. They went to parliament and put no vote there to fight. Mr. President then, knowing that it's a serious affair, refused to. He called the soldiers back. He pleaded, so please give me money to bring them back.
So you're saying now that what the legislature should do is not just pass a resolution and ask. It is to compel with the power of the purse that if you do not change the service chiefs, we're not going to fund this.
Because it's hypocrisy to legislators to say we don't want them to change them. Yes, we keep giving them money. They keep the money. Then let's see how they will do it. Then you'll be forced to change. There are many ways you can do that. This is one of the clean, bad way to do that, and things will keep moving. That brings us back to restructuring. The security architecture must be restructured. It must be.
I mean, because you've passed resolutions in several resolutions about this. You've talked about it.
Well, this resolution is not as effective as law, but we have effective, most powerful instrument, the power of the purse. You apply it. I mean, if you go home and you don't get money, are you going to be now? Power of the purse. It works everywhere.
So freeze the purse until services chiefs are changed. That's your
Sure.
That's your suggestion.
If you,
is that something you're going to try to push in the House? Is that something you're going to?
One of the ways, if we have the political will.
Do you think you have the political will as a legislature to do that?
No, we only have political will that suffers the people in this present regime. But political will that will liberate the people runs away from them. It's far from them.
You're saying far from them. You're part of the House.
No. I'm part of the ruling party. Whatever you do is seen as anti-government, anti-party, and opposition. I'm in opposition, and I'm proud. I do constructive opposition. Where they are right, I will say yes, you are right. Get this one very well done. For example, we must restructure security, food, and all whatnot. For example, they are doing what they call now empower, manpower, this and all whatnot, where billions of money are being paid. To who and how? And I said, if you guarantee paying 30,000 to graduates, you are reducing our money because they are not being used. Create a farm settlement where that 30,000 is given to them. You've satisfied the minimum wage by you. And then they become productive.
But not everybody wants to go to the farm.
Oh, well, agriculture is a whole chain, but everyone wants to collect 30,000 free and do nothing. Yeah,
some of them, the people for Empower, they actually do something. Some of them are teachers. Some of them go to the farm.
No.
They actually work.
Now we breach the law. We passed a law. If you're not a trained teacher, don't teach. If you're not a medical, don't go. And they are putting teaching and medical. So we are breaching the law. That's the confusion I'm talking about. So therefore, all of us will fit in farm. By farming, you produce enough food. And when there's enough food, the poor can sleep because they have food. Now the poor cannot sleep and the rich men cannot sleep because the poor are hungry. And because they are hungry, they are awake. And because they are awake looking for food, the rich man cannot sleep. So we need sufficient food. Invest in agriculture. Use them meaningfully. The reason I'm saying they should farm is this, or do something in agriculture. After 3 years, they must have developed a meaningful skill to start on their own.
Well, I mean, the president is saying that people should go back to the farm, and he's saying that farm should not be given to people who want to import food, which means it's going in the direction that you're talking about, going to the farm. But like I would say, we're in the year
meaningful
2020.
Training.
What it means is that there are a lot of people who want to go into the service sector and who don't want to go to the farm. So what it means that you're compelling people to do what they don't want to do because you think that is the only way to do it.
No, not just farm. They can go. One, we don't have enough jobs. No government can have enough jobs in the ministry.
Absolutely, it's the private sector.
Exactly. So the private sector is where. Let me give you an example. The whole chain: warehousing, packaging, selling, transporting, and so in agriculture, it's a sector. It's a whole chain. It's a value chain. We are yet to exploit. Even what I call futuristic market. So, where is the work in the ministry? Look. No serious-minded person will go to ministry and take 30,000 naira. When if you just sell granite, let me give you a typical example. A bottle of granite is sold for 600 naira in the down east. A mudu of granite is 500 naira. In a mudu of granite fried, we'll give you 2.5 bottles. You see that? So why are you wasting your own time? And you can sell 2 bottles a day. So what are you doing in the ministry where you want 30,000 naira? That's laziness. You have to be strong, have to be energetic, but we must encourage them.
A lot of Nigerian youths are not lazy.
No, they're not lazy. I'm not saying that. I mean, going to local government is mean not doing what you should do. Because you want free money. But to work it out, show your ingenuity, bring out the skill in you.
If you say that, I mean, they have breached the law. So I just want to go back to this. They have breached the law by allowing people who are not trained teachers to teach. Whether you're talking about Empower or whatever. What are you doing about that, as the legislative?
That is what I'm talking. That the system now is operating in a confused manner. Confusion. If you sit down in the parliament and say, non-trained teachers don't teach. You sit down again and propose a law that's saying, Empower, go and teach. Or a policy, Empower, go and teach. Are you suggesting we should now prosecute the executives or legislators? Faith, what do you think?
Okay, let's move from that, because I mean I feel that the legislature also has, their own shortcomings. I mean, if
Of
you
course,
feel that the
we're
executive,
not
if
blameless.
you feel that the executive is not doing something that follows the law that you have made, what are you doing about it? Let's quickly talk about the issue of Nigerian traders in Ghana. The Speaker of your House went to Ghana recently. Of course, he got commended by Nigerians in Ghana over that move. You have had this skirmishes between Ghana and Nigeria in recent times. One of the things that the Ghanaians have complained about, of course, was the closure of the border. But it is still closed till now, and they say that this is part of their law to pay this. Well, the speaker did intervene, and they're supposed to form some sort of council, Nigerian Ghana trade council and things like that. But what are your thoughts about the trade disputes? How is it best to be resolved? And of course, do you commend your speaker as well for taking the initiative to go to Ghana?
I will sincerely commend the speaker for being proactive, for going to Ghana to do the needful, to see a political solution. If you go to a country, please abide by the laws of the country. You don't blame Ghanaians entirely. It's only in Nigeria you see Chinese retailing. You see Lebanese in the retail industry. You see even Lebanese frying akara. It's only in Nigeria. Of course, they know the best way to fry the akara for us to like it. Ghanaians put a thing in place. Are we not having some memory lane? How many years ago we said Ghana must go? We even developed a bag and said, take, you must leave. That's how that Ghana must go came about.
Well, I mean, you remember that before then, Ghanaians had already chased Nigerians out of their country. That was in the 60s, before the Ghana must go incident. So let's not
Fine.
revise the history.
No, what I'm trying to say is, when a country is no longer comfortable because of your own activities, because of a breach of their own laws, because you breach the parameters, the standards set by them, that is affecting them, they have a right to say, no, play to our rules. But what should be is amicable settlement, so that you don't go cut corner. For example, they have you must register your companies before you can operate. And then you must declare certain standards, certain
You have to have
investments.
equity or
Yes,
cash of $4
yes.
million dollars.
Like some countries will tell you, if you can bring $400,000, we'll give you citizenship, you can operate in our country. They want you to bring money. They want to be sure you are bringing in
Value.
a thing. They're getting a value to the system. They're not just depleting their value. That's why they're doing that. But with what Speaker just started, we will look for a equitable way of resolving it so that trade can go on. No country can be an island. Ghanaians need us. We need them.
Let's talk about the border closure then, because that's one of the things that Ghanaians have complained about. You have had, even the president asked our president about border closure, but the president has said that it is to make sure that we develop internally, and the trade practices that some other countries practice have not been favorable to Nigeria. Basically, Nigeria became some sort of dumping ground, so they do have their reasons for that. And you have countries like Benin in the middle of all of that. Of course, Ghana said that we're not part of it, so but our borders are still closed. And now we have food inflation, we have all these issues. I wanted to react to that, the issue of the border closure. What are your thoughts exactly?
You see, but no country can be an island. You don't close your border completely. You can be selective in what you are closing the border to. You don't slam absolutely. You must seek to know what are you protecting before you close the border. Rice, yes. Close the border, say rice, don't come in. Let's grow our own. But if the total closure, it will affect even other things coming, like raw materials. Let me give you an example. Let me also use Ghana you talked about. We're in the same lane. We do cocoa together. But assuming I want Ghana's cocoa, I'm into production of beverages and all whatnot. I can't now. The reason, am I having sufficient cocoa in Nigeria to do that? Even if we have. So you must look at things on their own merit, not to put a total ban. Is it fabric? You close border. Do you have enough textile mill to meet that up? You must be able to single out and draw a list where that is on closure and allow things to move on. But if you just close the border without looking at them, without distinction, without separation, it will cause hardship. It will cause problem than you intend to cure. The problem you want to cure may increase. That's what I'm saying.
Will you advise the executive to open up the borders now?
I'll advise executives to not throw the border open to be dumped, but to be select to decide what items can come and those that cannot come. For example, you can even use tax to
Tariffs.
yes, tariffs and taxes, yes, to control what comes in. I'll give you an example. Nigeria consumes the greatest number of alcohol, champagnes, all over the world because like luxury. There are some bottles of drink that cost to 400,000 naira. You can tax such drinks coming in and allow the normal consumption of what people can benefit from. Those luxury goods, you can. Close them entirely, will still deny people what they need, will still deny you the tax you need. So, assemble sound economists to guide you. You should take good people to guide them. I'll give you an example. Most ministers of Jonathan got international jobs as they left. They know their values. So call people who can help you. Don't not mind where they come from, the party they belong to, so long as they deliver. Let my enemy who can deliver come on board than my brother who will rock the boat.
I mean, we're all Nigerians after all.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about quickly this anti-corruption bill that the Attorney General says that they're going to be sending that across to the National Assembly to create another agency for the management of recovered funds. It's an anti-corruption agency. There have been arguments about, well, we have ICPC, we have the EFCC. Why are you creating another agency? We already have what people will call an over-bloated, recurrent expenditure. We have a huge government expense already. Why are you creating another agency? Do you think there's a need for this? He's going to be sending to the National Assembly, though, so it will come to you very soon. What do you think about the creation of this?
With due respect to the Leonard Silk Attorney General, that shows signs of confusion again. When you talked about EFCC bill, and I supported the amendment and said we should make provision for management of recovered properties, not just fund, including structures, buildings, plazas, houses. We should provide for it. You don't have to bring another agency. It's only in Nigeria you set up a panel to probe fraud somewhere. That panel setup will take a lot of tea and coffee. That will be more than the money they are probing. It's only in Nigeria. So bringing another agency will increase the cost of running governance. Will bring another problem and all whatnot. You can have a government table to manage recovered structures. Managing the fund is not the issue. You return the funds to government coffers. But the properties, the structures, is what we're talking about. Go to Asokoro and all over Nigeria, you see EFCC keep off. And for 5 years, you see that. That is economic sabotage. The structure is wasting. Assuming it's a plaza, a going concern. Can you imagine what's happening there? EFCC will come, Prada Venture, this outfit, your radio station, one of your directors are involved or supposedly involved in EFCC matter. They seal up here. And the matter stays for 3 years. He's declared not one thing. Here must have been destroyed. You get it? So we're saying, while the matter is on, you can create a manager, receiver, manager, whatever, to keep the place ongoing. People will keep their job until the matter is decided. You don't lock it and go away. By the time the matter is done, the rest is destroyed. That was it. So creating another agency will be superfluous, will be overreaching, will be burdening the center. Mind you, I told you the center is burdened. That's why we cannot move. They're overloaded. The load is too much. Nigeria can't move. We should offload so that they will have time to move.
Just to clarify, he was saying power advantage hypothetical. My station is not involved in any of this case. None of my directors are. It was just an example he was given.
No, give me an example.
Just wanted to clarify
suppose
that.
Not conceding.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, then. We're wrapping this up now. Some of the investigations were the probes that were going on were put on hold. When it was ongoing. Your party has railed against that, saying that it is not right. It's a breach of the constitutional right of the House to carry out oversights, of course. But the explanation had been from the leadership of the House that it's just that okay, we're on recess. Let's you know be on recess. So what do you think about the pause of the probes?
I do not. I can't say. I can only guess. Con, I can guess, but I've never seen where Parliament is shut down completely. We're on recess. That does not mean oversight functions can go on. That does not mean committee works cannot go on. I will give it to Bajamila in appreciation. We've had the highest number of probe under his leadership, and also hear from grapevine that those probes were given concerns to the executives. Therefore, political will had to come to say
you heard it that that it was executive who asked for the probes to stop.
I don't like to act on rumor, but I said from grapevine that the outcome of the probes, particularly the Osai probe, gave so much concern to.
Okay, so since you cannot verify that, it's speculation, so we'll just disregard it.
But for the sure,
yes.
but the fact is, those probes are healthy for the progress of Nigeria. They need to know. That's part of our side functions. If the executives cannot tell us what they are doing, we have a right to ask. For example, I'm going to ask as soon as we resume, tell me the status of Ajakuta Mail. 2, what happened to the scrap we took away from the railway? Because we gave contract to Chinese. And then all the whole line they said they refurbished, the existing lines were solid money. If it's not the same gauge, where are they? I don't know. I'll ask because I need to know.
So you'll ask. So we'll not talk about what you heard that you cannot verify.
Exactly.
Okay, we're wrapping this up. I have a question here. Says Walanka from Duce here. Faith, please ask your guest, why is the Southeast so fixated on creating another state instead of being on a pan-Nigeria quest? Do you understand that?
Instead of doing what? Pan-Nigeria?
Instead of being pan-Nigeria.
Sure. Well, what is good for A is good for B. If the zones have more states, balance it. Since we share our income on the basis of states and local governments, therefore, why deny them?
So you're saying in the spirit of equity and balance,
yes,
and fairness.
I'll give you another example. Look at water basin. Only the East got one. All that zones got two water basins, and we budget over $20-30 billion, naira, every year for those whatever. That means Southeast gets one portion.
What can we expect from you? Resumption next week, plenary. What are we expecting from the legislature?
Very vibrant legislature as we resume, because there are a lot of things on the burning, a lot of issues to be discussed, from the water bill to the fuel hike and all whatnot, and from security and insecurity. We must make Nigeria stable, and we can only use the legislature through laws and oversight to get it done. So
there's an election coming. Moving into politics, Edo State elections are coming up on Saturday. Yes. What's your thoughts about the elections?
Well, we saw Kogi, we saw Bayelsa. My prayer and my plea is, it shouldn't be a do or die. Let the votes count. Let the votes count. We saw everything, so we don't give unnecessary pressure to the judiciary. We saw Kogi, we saw Edo, we saw everything. Let votes count.
Okay. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Member Uzoma Nkem-Abonta, for coming on the show today and speaking to us and clarifying some issues. We definitely appreciate your presence.
You're welcome.
All right, so we classic.